Good day, students. So today we will be discussing about the circumstances affecting criminal liability of the offender. Let's start with justifying circumstances. This is not actually Article 2 of the Revised Penal Code, but this is Article 11 of the Revised Penal Code. Okay, now justifying circumstances are circumstances attendant to the commission of the alleged offense by which their presence negates the unlawfulness of the acts so committed, so that such person is deemed not to have transgressed the law and is free from both criminal and civil liability. Ibig sabihin, it's as if the offender did not commit any crime. Okay, so these are justified. Okay, what are these justified circumstances? We have at least 6 listed in Article 11 of the Revised Penal Code. Okay, so first is what we call as self-defense or defense of oneself. Next is defense of relatives. Third is defense of a stranger. Another is state of necessity or avoidance of greater evil or injury. And then fifth is fulfillment of lawful duty or in exercise of rights or office, of a right of office. And then the sixth one is the obedience to a superior order or obedience to an order issued by or for some lawful purpose or purposes. Okay? Now you may want to ask, what is the effect of an injury or damage caused by a person acting with any of the justifying circumstances? Of course, as a general rule, there is neither criminal or civil liability on the part of the person acting with these justifying circumstances or any of these justifying circumstances, because what the law deems is that such acts are lawful, okay, such as self-defense. Okay. The accused again is not criminally liable because there is no crime committed in the eyes of the law. Therefore, when there is no criminal liability, then there is no civil liability that arises from such act or acts or omission. Imputability, remember, refers to quality by which an act may be ascribed to a person as its author or owner. It implies that the act committed has been freely and consciously done and may therefore be put down to the doer as his very own. Okay? It is imputable to you. It is imputable to the offender. Okay? When you speak of responsibility, you are referring to the obligation of suffering the consequences of the crime. It refers to the obligation of taking the penal and civil consequences of the crime. So you can now then distinguish the difference between imputability and responsibility. Let's move on to self-defense. Okay. What are the requirements for a self-defense to be justified? Okay. Number 1, there must be unlawful aggression. Okay? It must be proved with certainty by sufficient, satisfactory, and convincing evidence that it excludes any vestige of criminal aggression on the part of the person invoking it. Okay? That the three elements of self-defense should be present. Okay. So again, first is there must be unlawful aggression against the person defending himself. Okay. Second is there is a reasonable necessity of the means employed to prevent or repel the unlawful aggression referred to in the first requisite. Okay. So if by a peace officer, then there's a reasonable necessity of the means employed to overcome the opponent. Okay. And then the third one is lack of sufficient provocation on the part of the person defending himself. Hindi ka nag-provoke. Okay. You did not tempt the person committing the unlawful aggression to do that against you, or to do that against the person defending himself. Okay. So burden of proof rests upon the accused. It is his duty to establish self-defense by clear and convincing evidence. Okay? Remember, when we speak of evidence, we must rely on the strength of his own evidence and not on the weakness of that of the prosecution. Okay? Kailangan siya yung mag-prove. Okay? The burden of proof is on the accused, on the wrongdoer. No? Saying that, that's a self-defense. That's a valid self-defense. There is also a definition on what we call as unlawful aggression. Okay? Unlawful aggression is equivalent to assault or at least threatened assault of an immediate and imminent kind. Okay? Immediate. Okay? Urgent. Yan, paparating. Nandyan na. Yan. Immediate, imminent. Okay. So, there is unlawful aggression when there is peril to one's life, limb, or right. That is either actual, nangyayari na, or imminent, paparating. Okay. Mangyayari. Second is there must be an actual physical force or actual use of weapon. Right? Third is the aggression must be real and not just imaginary. Importante po yun. No? It's not just fiction. It's not just the creation of the mind. Baka naman kasi nag-take ng illegal drugs at kung ano-ano ang kanyang na-imagine, no, nag-hallucinate. That's not a valid self-defense. So when should unlawful aggression be present? Remember that to be appreciated, unlawful aggression must be a continuing circumstance or must have been existing at the time the defense was made. So unlawful aggression by the victim is what we call as primordial element of self-defense. Without it, there can be no self-defense. Yung element number 2 and 3 is actually dependent on the first element, which is unlawful aggression. Okay? Or the requisites of what we call as a valid self-defense. What is now then the difference between retaliation and an act of self-defense? Dahil importante na malaman natin kung ano rin yung motive, no? Or if I may call it, yung nasa utak ng taong nagdi-defend ng kanyang sarili. Okay? Remember, in retaliation, the aggression that was begun by the injured party already ceased to exist when the accused attacked him. Okay? Umesbak, bumawi. Okay? Sabihin may in-between na intervening cause. Okay? May gap in between. Natapos na yung aggression. Okay? It's not continuing. And then there was a time for the accused to contemplate before he or she responded or actually committed another an attack on the person injured. Okay? In self-defense, the aggression was still existing when the aggressor was injured or disabled by the person making a defense. Okay? Unbroken series of events. Right? So the settled rule in jurisprudence is that when unlawful aggression ceases, then the defender no longer has the right to kill or even wound the former aggressor. Okay? Self-defense cannot be validly invoked. So there is also a question on whether a slap on the face, no, yung sampal, constitutes an unlawful aggression. Of course, yes. A slap on the face when done in contempt is qualified as an unlawful aggression. Remember that the face personifies one's dignity and slapping it is intended to be a serious personal affront. Okay? Tandaan yan, yung pagsampal can be a valid unlawful aggression. Okay, let us now move on to ito, na-mention ko na ito, no? Remember, this includes defense of life, chastity or property or honor. Okay. Ito rin, na-mention ko rin to, no? As the actual and sudden, unexpected attack or imminent danger. Okay, not merely threatening or intimidating attitude. Remember that there must be that the accused must present proof of the real aggression. Okay? It's not just imaginary. Okay? It's indispensable requisite. Yun yung sinasabi nga nating primordial element of a self-defense. Okay? Insulting words addressed to the accused, no matter how objectionable they may have been, without physical assault could not constitute unlawful aggression. It's different from slap. No? Yung iniinsulto ka lang, that is not considered as unlawful aggression. Ayun. Slap of the face is an unlawful aggression. How about a public officer exceeding his authority? Yes. It may become an unlawful aggression. So this is a particular example when a sheriff carrying out a writ of execution exceeded his authority by taking against the will of the judgment debtor personal property with sentimental value, had the right to repel the unlawful aggression. Sumobra na siya dun sa kanyang guhit, no? Kasi masyado na niyang ini-enforce yung kanyang writ of execution. Remember also that when the aggressor ran away from, after the attack, or when the defender was able to wrest the weapon from the aggressor, hindi na valid yung self-defense because aggression no longer exists. Okay? Naghabulan kayo. Hindi na valid yung self-defense because there is no more unlawful aggression. There is also no unlawful aggression when there is an agreement to fight. Okay. Alam mo, magduduelo kayo. Yan, bawal yun, hindi na yung pwede. No? Usap kayo, sige, suntukan tayo. You cannot invoke a valid self-defense. One who voluntarily joined the fight cannot claim self-defense. Okay? Naghanap lang ng away.